Hello, and welcome to Hold Up, a movie podcast. Last time we took a tantalizing, I should say. Tantalating? That's not a word, is it? I'm making it one.
Titillating?
Trip through time. Yeah, that's the one. I'm going to go with tantalizing. Last time we took a tantalizing trip through time and luckily got back alive. Tonight we journey through the universes of all kinds, where every choice we make creates a branch reality, some joyful, some twisted and mangled. We are we, but we are also them, and they are also us. So join us and them, for they are we. And tonight's theme is multiverses.
Yeah.
I am your host, Davan Skelhorn, and with me, as always, my co-host, Chris Worldmine Murphy. How's it going, Murphy?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm just making a quest to make coherence of all these things that we're experiencing everywhere, all the time, at once. Everything that's about that we witnessed. And originally this was supposed to be multi-dimensional, but apparently we've stepped to the dimension, now it's a multiverse. And
We explore the
I'd like
verses.
it to be known that we were intending to watch Last Action Hero, which is a perfect
Oh, give up on
multi-dimensional
Last
film.
Action Hero.
I would have been cool with that. I would have been very cool with that.
I too would have been cool with that. I haven't watched it in a very long time, and I thought it would have made an excellent multi-dimensional film. But
It actually would have for a lot of reasons.
No,
It'll be in the multi-dimensional episode.
It would have been, but no. Davin decided to go to the romance Nile of the grocery store and pick him out a movie that only our moms would watch back in the 70s.
Hey now,
QuestForLove,
Andre's
so,
gonna disagree with you there. Speaking of Andre, we have a guest tonight, my other co-host from X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show.
Trying to give someone a seizure there? My God. I feel like with you guys,
André Myette.
with you guys quoting things that apply to the theme, I feel like I should have prepared something. All I have are the lyrics to "Helplessly Hoping" by Crosby, Stills, and Nash. They are one person, they are two alone, they are three together, and they are for each other. So there we go. I think that sort of applies to us group here.
Are you or are you them?
They are me.
We are all
Good answer. Excellent. We're getting off on the right foot here.
Yeah. Okay. In fairness, Murphy, for the pick of the one that I know you're referring to, Davin gave me a very strict criteria to try to find him a parallel universe movie that took place before 1990. So that was so that I went through a list of what I could find. I gave him some options, and he went with that one. So I'm not.
Yep.
I don't want
It
to.
sounded good.
Listen, I'm not going to blame the chef for presenting a menu of options. I'm just going to blame the
should.
chef for having bad
You should
taste.
blame the chef if the food is bad.
You know what? I don't want to tip my hand on that
Anyway.
movie too early, but I actually
Yeah.
did like it. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but I liked it all right.
Well, this is the last episode of our first season. This is season 1, episode
You
20.
finally
We
dragged
made
me
it.
kicking and screaming onto this show.
Yep. Hey, well, look, you may have been the only guest we've had on who's listened to at least in part to all of our episodes.
I've listened to everyone except for the newest one. I'm only. You guys are complaining about how bad of a kisser Malcolm McDowell is. That's where I stopped listening.
Oh, it's
I was in my car on the way here, on the way home, and then that was playing in the car, and I stopped, got out of the car, and came in. So it wasn't that long ago.
somehow it was good enough to attract Mary Steenburgen, but she might have
They only married briefly, although I think they have they don't speak ill of each other. I think they had a fairly
sure.
They seem reputable people.
Yeah. And I like her. But the time movie I wish you guys would have talked about is one I wish I could have given you to that suggestion. It's called Time Crimes. It's a Spanish language film by Nacho Vigdelano. He did that. Remember that movie with Anne Hathaway where there was like a giant monster in China or Japan or Korea that she could control? Jason Bateman was in it. It was called it came out a couple years ago. Something about being big. I can't remember the name of the title was, but anyway, that guy directed that and a bunch of other movies. But it's a super good timey-wimey, paradox running into yourself when this guy runs into this dude coincidentally stumbles upon a little lab, and then he gets caught in a time machine, and then winds up like a few hours before he went to the lab, and then he's trying to prevent him going to the lab. But then other versions of him get in time machines. There's multiple versions of him all running around at the same time, trying to kind of, and it all wraps up in a beautiful way. But it's a really, really good time movie. It's subtitled, but it's fantastic. I'd highly suggest
I do love good subtitles.
But like, we're not always like that's kind of not the concept of the show.
It 100% is. It's a movie hardly
I'm not
anybody
sure
heard
about
about,
the concept.
and it's
well, that's true. No, that is a
Evan
good point.
changes
That
the
is a good point.
criteria every time he describes it. So
Yes.
Well,
he
no,
does, doesn't
but-
he?
No, well, it's just it's not. You're right. It's one that people haven't seen, so that's a good pick. But it's not about picking things you already think are super awesome necessarily, because that's not much of
Colossal
an
was the movie I
exploration.
couldn't think of the name of. It's the one with Anne Hathaway. It's called Colossal.
But
It's
and
also
I
very
like those two. I like that we have a mix. We've had a great mix of A, B, and C movies. We're picking enough variety to like surprise ourselves with good movies, surprise ourselves with bad movies, and that's the point. That's
Well,
the
in theory, I
premise
think
of
you'd
the
make it
podcast.
a more interesting experience if you picked good movies from different walks of life. Like, it doesn't need to necessarily be an okay, and a great movie. If it was like a parallel universe action film, and then a parallel universe romance film, and then a parallel universe something else, it all kind of fits the criteria, but it doesn't necessarily mean one of them has to be bad.
Well, the point is not knowing.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to. It's not about seeing a bunch of movies we've seen already. It's about like picking movies and seeing if they hold up.
That's the main. That's the
But
main,
using the
like,
term-
caveat is just
Okay,
because
I don't want to
those
take apart
super
your show,
movies.
but using the term hold up usually applies to something that was popular to begin with. If you say something holds up, everyone loved it in the 70s, and would they still love it now? If it was a
It's more
movie
like
that
doesn't
wasn't
hold
very
up to
pop-
It
was-
I mean, more like holding up to modern viewing.
Okay, that's right.
I was
That's
gonna
right.
say,
That's what
to
we're-
be
that's what
fair,
we're
I think the
exploring.
initial like concept was like popular films, and if they kind of like held up like just
No, it
movies
wasn't.
That
like,
would make more sense.
I was
But
always
I think
planning
that
on
was
picking weird old movies I haven't seen.
No, that's good.
That's fair.
I mean, hey, I dig the show. I listened to it.
Yeah.
I feel like you're
appreciate
pretty-
that you know.
I feel like you're
listen
pretty
so
mean
many
to Murphy sometimes. I want to, I like that.
We've known each other a long time. And
Doesn't mean you can be mean to him.
he tears into me just as good or worse.
It's more like he's. This is my description as an uninitiated. I don't really know you guys super well beyond just our interactions between doing these shows, which is great. You guys are wonderful, but it feels like Murphy pleading for some semblance of understanding, and then Davan denying him all the way through.
I
Murphy's
guess
like,
it's
just
so hard.
listen to me. I just have a point I want to make. And Davan's like, no, you're wrong. It's stupid. You're wrong. This is why I'm right. Davan.
Tell Murphy why Gremlins is a great movie.
It is a great movie, Murphy. I have to disagree with you on that one, but that's fine. It is a great movie. In fact, I literally just got a message from a friend that hasn't seen it and wants to do a screening on her back deck this weekend. So I'm going to do that.
Because
Very
and it'll
excited.
be in a great time and everyone will enjoy themselves.
It's a great movie.
It'll be fit. I mean, you're probably doing that a little too
Gremlins
close.
2 is a better film.
Gremlins 2
not
is a
close
better
enough to
film.
Christmas.
I'll agree with Murphy there. Gremlins 2
That
is
doesn't
a
make
better
the first one a bad movie,
No, it
though.
doesn't.
So
It doesn't at all.
that by Murphy's
said the first
criteria
one was
that he
bad?
judged Gremlins on, every sequel that he likes better than the first movie, he has to judge the first one a B movie or a C
I mean,
movie. That's
yeah.
by that criteria, and that's
Often-
just silly.
Often they're not even like, it's not even like often, especially with older movies.
They're
like,
different movies.
The sequel has not, like the whole crew that puts it together aren't even the same crew that did the first one.
Mm.
So it's
Davan.
often completely a whole different thing.
Davin, did you not just say not even 3 minutes ago that this podcast is about if movies hold up to modern viewing?
And you don't think Gremlins does?
No.
Yeah,
Well, that's just
I
silly.
do, but I understand where you're coming from. But if you paint any old horror movie with that brush, none of them will.
Exactly.
To be fair,
No.
I'm not a fan of old horror movies. I'm
Oh,
kind of a fan
I
of horror
100%
movies
am.
in
So
general.
that's why. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
me too.
I-
Love them.
But he is
All
right.
right.
And if you ever look, I don't want to go off on a tangent
Yeah.
with Gremlins, but Gremlins 2, if you look into how it got made, Joe Dante, who in my opinion is one of the best directors of all time.
Yeah, Matinee.
He did the first. Yeah, Matinee is an excellent film. Almost Small Soldiers, like all of his movies are great.
Oh, Small Soldiers.
I know it's so good, but like the Howling,
Mhm.
God, I could name the Burbs, which is a fantastic movie.
Oh, The Burbs is one of my
Yeah.
favorite movies.
Um,
We got to get
every-
that on this show.
Everything he's done is great. Even his segments in the Twilight Zone movie, like. But anyway, he he did the first one, and it was such a headache with all the puppets that they asked him to come back for the second one because it did so well. And he was like, "No, I'm not doing it." And like a year went by, and they're like, "No, please come back." And he's like, "No, I'm not." And then a year went by later, and like, "Here's a bunch of money," and he's like, "No." And then another year went by, and they're like, "Okay, here's a bunch of money, and you have a final cut. You can do whatever you want. We have no say in it whatsoever." And he was like, "Okay." And that's why he made. So he had free range to make a movie that was a parody of horror movies, that was a parody of Gremlin movies, that was a parody of even itself. Like, it just self-parodies all the way through. It does such an amazing job of it, even asking questions that the audience did, like, what time can they start eating again? What if he goes through the national dateline? Like, all these stupid questions that are all the things movie fans would ask themselves. He gets Christopher Lee in there. It's such a good movie.
But it's him having a lark, but it's not like a great.
No, but it
like
actually has.
That's why I don't think it's a better movie. It's just making fun of it and everything. It's like
no, yes and no.
He's having fun with it, but he's not. He doesn't want to be doing it.
He is, but it actually has something to say about movie.
Do you see what I go through with every episode?
No, but he is. But there is a more meta textual thing about movie watching in general, horror fans in general, and the people that watch these sort of movies. That's all buried in that. It's beautiful. It's one and two are very different beasts. They're both fantastic in their own way. But two,
I like
as far
two
as
more
like
as
an
a kid.
Two, as far as an experiment in the cinema,
silly.
is way more interesting than just a straight narrative story. So.
You know,
I mean, you got
describe us the same
Hulk
way.
Hogan's in it.
One of two different beasts and fantastic in our own way.
Exactly. You're both beautiful wild beasts that can't be tamed.
You know, Andre, we have another segment on this show you may probably know since you listen to our show. Origin stories. Andre, what's with you and movies?
Well, as a young man, I was visiting a radioactive display that was happening at a local Blockbuster, and I was bitten by an irradiated VHS tape.
Mm-hmm. Then what happened?
It filled me with irradiated VHS energy that propelled me into a lifetime of loving cinema.
And tape.
Like this.
The true story being, that is actually pretty cool. The true story is I grew up in a small...
what?
Now they can identity theft you, Murphy.
Well, I mean,
Murphy.
if your number is 8641486, sorry,
someone's gonna go to a Blockbuster and rent 45 copies of True Lies on your account, bud.
My account number was 207-189-26550.
That's amazing. I don't nowhere near remember what mine was. Truro had a video store called Truro Home Video, which is where I generally went more than Blockbuster. There was a Blockbuster, and a friend of mine that's a friend now, but not then, used to work there, so that's cool. No, I grew up in a small community, and I only had two channels growing up, which are CTV and ATV, or CBC and CTV, and the French channel. So I didn't speak French, so that was kind of a no-go. So because of that, I would try to watch as many movies as I could, renting from the local store, or having my cousins who had cable tape me things off TV. That led me to seeing a lot of movies, some of which you guys talked about. Stay Tuned was one of my favorites as a kid, and I've rewatched it again recently and think it's still a fantastic movie.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's a great movie. But a lot of that's sort of the reason. And then I just sort of fell into love with movies. Like, movies to me is the great escape. I mean, I am an actor. I'm in the Actors Union. I do act in some things. I've been in a movie or two and some TV shows, and I do a lot of stage stuff. So I really love the art of acting itself. But movies just gives you a portal to another world, and it's such a great experience when you see a good one. So yeah, movies are great. I feel like if you don't like movies, I don't understand you.
Well, I know a guy who doesn't. Portals to another world is a good segue. That's
you like what I did there?
Yeah, let's take a portal to.
I'm a professional, sir.
Yes, indeed. We're on the Graphic Histories podcast and X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show.
Fantastic podcast.
Thank you, sir.
We do what we can. Theater 1, we have QuestForLove from 1971, starring JoanCollins, Tom Bell, I think I forgot the end there. Denim Elliott? I think it's Denim.
The Home?
No, I think it's Denim. It's like Denholm. Like the H is really pronounced as like Denholm.
Yeah, Denholm. I'm gonna put the N in there so I can actually say it. There we go. Denholm Elliott, and directed by Ralph Thomas. British movie, comes off kind of like a play, almost like it looks like it's made for television, playish. Which I assume it was.
I mean, it was the 70s. There were a lot of movies that that look this way in the 70s. If they're not the highest budget things, like also in England too, right? So you're not getting
It
Taxi
was a
Driver.
BBC TV movie.
That would make sense. Although, yeah, I suppose you're the guy that comes in with the knowledge, so you would know more than me.
He's the movie morsel guy.
I do what I can to find everything. There wasn't a lot to find on this movie, trust me, but we'll talk about that
That's
later.
fine. We'll
There's a
get
few
through that and
things
talk
on
about a
stuff.
couple more interesting movies.
Let's refresh our palate, shall we, and
Yeah.
review the trailer.
Oh, we had a trailer for this? I figured this wouldn't have one.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
there's always a trailer.
Things are happening.
Some of them give you the whole movie.
Oh man, they use this theme so much in the movie. They have like one piece of music they just use over and over again.
A second chance of love in a different world. Colin Trafford is normally a mild-mannered man.
This is probably the piece of music they use for every BBC movie at the time. So like every movie you watch, it's just that same thing.
This movie gives away everything. My God, in the first, like, this trailer gives away everything.
Every trailer does. Like every trailer we watch, it's just like, why did we bother watching the
That's
movie?
usually more modern ones to do that. This one really gives away a lot.
I saw you for the first time in real life and I fell in love with you.
And then the opposite is On the Beach that gives you nothing. It's just about people went to this movie. People liked this movie.
That's better.
And then, yeah, best movie on earth.
The trailer for the original Aliens shows you nothing. You see an egg. That's it. That's fantastic.
On a determined quest to discover his true friends.
Colin, I think you don't know what they call it around here, Tommy boy, but where I come from. They have a name for you.
Frantic to confirm his sanity.
My wife pointed out it sounds very much like Luke's theme when he's on Tatooine in Star Wars. You heard it from the other room.
I wonder if it is
does.
the same. It
You heard
really
it from the
does.
other room, and she's like, "You watch Star Wars?"
I think it's the same.
Great
It's very close. It's not the same as this.
I do.
Yeah, that part there is
Colin,
that
please don't do this
part.
to me.
The do definitely the
Quest.
same.
A desperate search for love.
running scene.
I've been married to a man for 4 years who never said a word until lunchtime. Now all of a sudden he's making speeches over breakfast. How do you expect me to feel?
Well, you'd better get used to it.
Starring JoanCollins, a glittering beauty and an international star in her greatest role. Tom Bell.
We've had
a
her on our
brilliant
show
dramatic
before.
actor
I'm not can't
playing
remember
a
which.
great romantic character. Denham Elliott, whose friendship spanned the romance and drama of both worlds.
If you
Denham
let down
Elliott.
the game,
They really give you a lot of information.
I'll kill you.
Lawrence Naismith, a shrewd scientist,
Well, he's
human
great.
enough to calculate from the heart.
And tonight's
Yeah, he was probably my favorite character.
Quest for Love. A unique story with a vast new concept of love.
There you have it.
Davan, you know JoanCollins because she was in the episode of Star Trek, the original series, The City on the Edge of Forever.
Oh yeah, she's Edith Keeler.
Yes. So
My daughter is kind of sort of named after her.
you should know who she is then.
I know, I should.
Yeah. She's a smoke show, man. She's.
Oh, yeah.
You can't tell me these actors weren't charming. I mean,
They
I think they were both
they
pretty
had-
charming.
I found the main guy a bit dry.
Nah, he was charming. They were charming in that way that old English people are charming.
Yeah, like it was just. It was,
But there were way
it
more
was-
charming old English
Yeah,
people
it was
than that.
atypical British dry acting that was just.
Well, yeah.
I had no draw for it, and it was very. There was a smattering of science fiction that was not really well.
Yeah,
done. It was
this
just
was definitely more of a romance movie
Just a
than a
romance.
science fiction movie.
Yeah, it felt
But-
like a mom's like romance novel that you'd find at the grocery store or something.
But in defense of it, I don't particularly like romance movies, and I don't particularly I don't seek them out. My favorite romance movie is Grosse Point Blank, which is a fantastic movie. The one with
Mine's Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country by Nicholas Sparks.
That's a terrible choice.
My favorite element.
It's about a hitman that goes back to his high school reunion, played by John Cusack. Minnie Driver's in it. It's very good. But it kept me interested. I mean, I watched the full hour and a half and didn't get overly bored. I did find there were scenes that dragged a little long, but if you're not into romance movies, you're definitely not going to enjoy this.
The last half was dreadful for me. The first half,
Well,
I was like,
so-
all right, let's see where this goes. And then it's just like, ugh.
I feel like, this concept is not new. I mean, I guess we should get into the movie before we go to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fire it up, Murphy.
All right.
I was going to say this idea has been done a million times by a lot of other movies, including a very famous one starring Nicolas Cage. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah,
This movie's
we're
very
starting with
gray
Quest for Love
as well.
for 1971.
Not a lot of color.
Colin Trafford, played by Tom Bell, is a physicist who, in the year 1971, demonstrates a machine to his best friend Tom Lewis, played by Denham Elliott, and other distinguished guests, including Sir Henry Larston, played by Lawrence Naismith. Getting into it, this is apparently Davin's favorite scene. He said he wanted the sciencey bits at the beginning because he wasn't quite clear.
Yeah.
And then
I
when we
couldn't think
watched
of one
the
else.
scene,
It's incredibly
Do you
bad.
know who we've got up there?
let's pay
The one
attention
with
to the
white
science
hair.
in this scene.
This is what I meant.
That's
This is the
it,
scene I
wow.
meant.
What kept you?
Held up
Where's
like
the
Okay.
science? Hang on.
Needlessly
We
angry.
have here particles approaching half the speed of light, and you are held up by the limb.
ironic, isn't it?
Colin, yeah? See you after for a...
Oh, yeah, great.
Well, let's get on with it
Sippy
then.
sip.
He's like, you're about to experiment with this dangerous
Morning,
machinery. We'll
gentlemen.
have a drink
Yeah.
later.
I won't have the bump on this, so I needn't go into detail.
No
Our
detail.
purpose here today is to show you IPI's new machine in action and to show you the great range of its potential. Now, the hardware here is a refinement of Dr. Rankin's prototype.
They don't even explain what goes wrong. It's like something's wrong. I know.
They don't explain the machine.
They don't explain what went
Or
wrong.
what it's supposed to do. Like,
Well,
it's
what it's supposed
Yeah.
to do is just to be refined.
It just says particles that go half the speed of light for some reason.
Well, if you have a rudimentary
No,
knowledge
that's
of
not even
science,
it.
it's a particle accelerator. That's
No,
what
it's not even it either.
It has to be. It makes particles
No.
move fast. What else is a particle accelerator for?
The particle thing does. He mentions like we're dealing with particle science, but it was more of a riff on the fact that the guy was late. It was like a particle joke. Like he doesn't
think
even
it was
allude
relation-
to
No,
it.
he was still talking about, but there no.
I think
there
it's
was
supposed
definitely
to be.
particles.
I think
involved.
it's supposed to be a particle accelerator. The
might be a
the
particle
wiki
accelerator.
calls it that, but that doesn't mean it's true.
But the thing about particle accelerators is they have to be really big, and they didn't really give us that sort of scale.
No, I
of
mean
the
they just
facility,
assume nobody.
but that's
They assume nobody knows anything about it. And
Yeah.
it's
Just
pretty-
call it the machine in descriptions I found. Like there's
The machine.
No...
We're gonna turn
particle
on-
accelerator is the best guess, I think.
It sounds ominous.
But
We're
like,
gonna turn
but
on
from the
the
first, like
machine.
that was kind of silly and vague science. But I was just like, all right, this could be some silly, weird science fiction thing. And then the movie just kept getting down more and more downhill. There was a couple little scenes where he's just
Well,
like,
there's only really
first-
one instance of parallel universe in this, which is fine.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, similar to, I guess, Last Action Hero has a lot of others. You know what would have been an interesting one, too, which I never thought about for one of these? Page Master, the Macaulay Culkin
the
movie.
Page Master.
He travels around to different realities and books.
Yeah, I didn't think about that one. That's a
Me
good
neither.
one.
I don't know if that one often comes up in talk about parallel universe. Anyway, sorry, Murph, go ahead.
So yeah, during the demonstration, the machine malfunctions and Colin finds himself trapped, transported to an alternate reality, still as Colin Trafford, but with his memories intact. This parallel world has significant historical differences. For instance, John F. Kennedy and Leslie Howard are alive, and there was no Vietnam War or World War II. The world diverged into two separate timelines in 19.
He's like, the war. They're like, what war?
Yeah.
He's like, you know,
Also,
the war.
Also,
He's
nobody's
like-
nobody's climbed Mount Everest in this world, which
Yeah.
I find funny.
And
they
his
haven't gone to
friend
the
here,
moon,
Tom
right.
still has his right arm, which he did. Like I didn't even realize he was.
I didn't
missing his
either
right
until
arm
this came
he
up.
Mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah.
He
He lost
So,
it
yeah.
because he was a war. So in
Yeah.
in the other world, he was a war reporter, and he lost it in
Yeah,
Vietnam.
they did say
while
that.
reporting on Vietnam, because he brings it up. But in this one, he's a film critic instead, for the for the New York Times or something.
Well, yeah.
So
So
that-
Colin's a successful writer and is married to Audie Harsom, who's played by Harsham. Anyway, Joan
I didn't even know how to
Collins,
pronounce her first name correctly. Is it Audie?
I think it's
Audie.
Audley or Audley.
Audley. That is Audley. It is Audley. You're right.
Yeah. But yeah, however, their marriage is strained as Audley hates him, and mainly because his alternate self was an alcoholic and adulterer who mistreated her. And
Yeah,
as
he's
you-
a real
as you
dick.
mentioned,
Bastard. A real
these
bastard.
other guys
I love
said
how like
that.
all these various women are like, remember all these times we had together, and he's like, "What? I don't know who you are." Like he doesn't know anything about the previous life, and
It took
everyone
him
keeps
so
trying to talk to him.
long to just be like, I'm not who you think I am. I'm from another reality. He just like kept like falling into the conversation and being like, oh no, this lady's mad at me. Why are you mad at me, Live? It's like, what? Why are you trying to pander to her? Why don't you just like explain what's going on right now?
I mean, it is a pretty wild story, but it does take him, like, he gets drunk first and then makes a fool of himself before he just comes clean.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite scenes. Not the one I picked, but yeah, he gets drunk at the party. People are like bugging him about this, and he just starts like, he's like, I don't know, I'm above all of you people. Like, you're not even on my same plane, you know. You haven't even climbed Mount Everest, because he like finds a book that says they didn't conquer like Mount Everest and stuff, and you get this like fun little POV shot of him.
What book is it? Things we haven't done.
Yeah. It seems like a encyclopedia failure.
Yeah.
He has a bunch of books. He has like a neat little display of all the books he wrote on the shelf, though, which is nice.
So yeah, he's being hit on by like his actress friend or whatever. Apparently, he's been sleeping and indulging around. Basically crashes the whole party. Everyone goes home, and he's just known as the drunk guy again.
Surprise, motherfucker!
In his
what was that for?
Dokes makes an appearance on our show.
Does he? Okay, I know. I'm familiar with Dokes.
So yeah, in his drunken super, he decides to watch a bit of TV,
tuned.
and he sees that the character Lawrence Niemsen's Henry Larson character is on TV talking about. So he immediately runs to, and this is what was my favorite scene.
I'm afraid you can't go in there, son. Look, I must see Sir Henry Lanstein. It's vital.
I'm sorry. Universal, baby.
All right.
Yep.
You see that he gets this?
Oh, right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That was my favorite scene, too. Well,
no, yours was the timey business at the beginning of the episode.
Well, I like that too, but this was better. I like that he got the guy's attention with an equation that he hadn't solved.
This cannot possibly be valid.
Oh, it is, sir.
You got it, Murphy. That was the best scene.
Well, I was hoping you could tell me.
Geniuses do not have to be told who they are.
Oh, I'm not, sir. That equation was formulated by somebody else. He's the genius.
But nobody of that caliber has been working in this field.
That word you used in your theory on time, what was it? Not on the same plane, wasn't it?
You better come in here with me. I'm sorry, sir. Shoot.
The guy's got some intense eyebrows.
Yeah, I should have wrote it down. That was the scene I was going to say was my favorite scene, but by the time you watched the movie, so I was able to tell you mine, I had forgotten. And I'm just like, some sciencey shit at the start.
Okay, that was the sciencey bit.
Was the sciencey bit. Yeah.
I'm used to being the one to walk through the episode on the X-Men show. It's nice having somebody else go through it on this one.
Right?
I keep wanting to start talking about it and just like doing your job. So I'm so used to it on the other one.
Hey, if you feel like jumping in, I'll let you slide.
That's all good. I'll let you know if I see anything that although I wish I could have got you to get a screen cap of the titles of the books that he wrote in QuestForLove, because some of them sound like the most pretentious, like like books, like The Death of God or something was one of them, or something like that. Like they were just like the book titles that of all the books he wrote just made me laugh a lot, because they just seemed like we need to make like important sounding books for this guy to have written. Let's just grab some really titles with some heavy gravitas.
Well, you'll be pleased to know I have a little morsel for you, but it's not entirely the details you're looking for. But I have a morsel for you when we get to it.
I'm happy.
So yeah, basically, where was I? Colin basically makes his discovery that he's in an alternate reality with the professor, and at this
he kind of
point,
suspected it already, but the professor sort of believes him. He has someone that believes him.
Yeah, the professor sort of solidified it. So he goes back and he talks to Audley, and he's like, listen, I'm not who you think I am. I honestly am telling you this. If you don't believe me, we can get a divorce. Just come back to me. We'll go talk to the professor, and he'll show you. And then this is where we get to Andre's favorite scene.
This is a great scene.
70. Now, this could have happened on any plane, but in this particular instance, it happened here. The train, or rather the world, splits here. Half of it goes off along this track, and half of it goes off along this track. Now, time progresses in the same way in both worlds. So when it's 1940 here, it's 1940 there, 1960 there, 1960 there, 1970 there, 1970 there.
I don't understand how...
I think what's bothering
It could have happened to anyone. Both worlds are the same as the original. There's a Colin here and a Colin there, an Ottilie there and an Ottilie there. But since the worlds which shaped them have been different, their characters may be different too.
Yeah, it's like twins.
Shh. as I was about to say, it's like having an identical twin in the parallel worlds who's been brought up differently. He's the same but different.
But how did the two Collins change over?
Some function of the experiment. They were playing about with the random factor and it ran wild.
Professor Landstein, can you prove any of this?
Ah, a skeptic. The first requirement of the scientific process. No, my dear young lady, I can't. That's what they asked me in 1938. I can show its mathematical validity, but without an experiment, I can't prove it.
But you do believe my story?
Oh, yes. Your story is absolutely consistent with my theory.
And you think that I should believe him too?
What young ladies believe or what they don't believe has nothing to do with science. I think I should give him a chance and then make your mind up.
Yeah, it's a great little fun scene. I love when he keeps shushing them. He's like, shh.
That was a good scene.
Yeah. Oh, you're muted, I think, Murph.
Yes, I am. Sorry. That is the best scene in the movie, hands down.
He's such a good. I think they're all charming actors. That particular guy that played Sir Henry, Lawrence Naismith. He's very good. He's very good.
So yeah, Collins basically tries to seek help from his friend Tom in this parallel world. As Andre mentioned, he's a film critic for the Times, and he's no longer missing his arm. But Tom's cautious about and worries about the effect these revelations would have on Ottilie, who has a heart condition. But you know,
well, he thinks that he's playing with her, like he's because the one of him from that time is kind of a dick who cheats on her all the time. Exactly. And as they get to know each other, he's asking her questions about the people in his life he's supposed to know, like the girl from the play that was making eyes at him that he's having an affair with, she tells him, and then the other girl that talked to him at the party that was the previous girl he had an affair with before he moved on to this girl. But you know, he thinks that he's just toying with her again because every so many years he tries to be a better person and then it just blows up and he hurts her again, is what he says. And he says basically that, you know, he knows that she's dying and he didn't know that. She swore him to secrecy and that she's a heart condition.
He basically tries to like prove his identity by publicly rejecting advances from other women, which, you know, eventually convinces Ottilie that, you know, he's who he says he is. Because
for the most part,
like
she gets some more proof once they get back to their house.
Yeah, he just starts like making breakfast in the morning and stuff like that, which he never did.
Yeah, because he actually is in love with her, and like that's this like because the previous version of him didn't care about her at all. She was like a trophy at the start, and then when he got bored, he just moved on, and just took her for granted. So he actually fell in love with her right away and wants to earn her love, but he's fighting against what the other version of him had done up until this point.
Yeah, he's basically swimming upstream at that point.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So yeah, as Colin and Ottilie grow closer, you know, eventually this like tragedy strikes. You know, they have the romance stuff. She's playing piano, and then all of a sudden, her heart like gives out. So
I just have one thing to add. He's trying to keep his distance from her while they're trying to, he's trying to earn her trust. She falls on him during a little thing they're doing, and then his robe opens enough that she can see his shoulder. And he is missing a scar that the other version of him had. So that's the last point that proves to her that he's not her version because he doesn't have that scar that he's always had from a spike he got pushed into by his friend when they were kids.
So I actually liked this scene that was happening purely because I thought it was the best lit scene in the whole movie.
Yeah,
I thought the scene was just really gorgeously well done.
Yeah, a lot of the scenes... This movie's quite ugly as well, but like this was a nice.
Yeah, it's very dated because you know it's obviously
it is a product of the time for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
In their budget.
But out of all the scenes in the movie, this was the one that was really really beautiful. But yeah, so basically she's trying to say she's good, but also her heart gives out.
Well, I just found it funny because his friend's like, all right. He's like, you better not hurt her again or I'll kill you. And he's like, she has a heart condition. She's dying. A year ago, she found out that her heart's going to give out. And he's like, oh, God, I'm going to run home and just have vigorous sex with her over and over again. It's like, it's probably not the best thing for her.
Might as well wear that heart out now.
Yeah, then she dies like right after, basically. So it's like, well, maybe that was the best thing for her heart.
So yeah, she's like, I know I'm in the other universe somewhere. Find me. And he just... I'm assuming wills himself back to the alternate reality.
Yeah, this is where you get love
flippy
maybe what
switch.
kept him there. I don't know, but
Yeah, he basically Sam Beckett quantum leaps back to his own body through mal seizures.
it kind of makes you wonder what happened to
Just
the other version of
'cause.
him. Well, what happened to the
Just
other version of
'cause.
him? Was the other version of him just in a coma in this world, or is that version dead? Like when he left, did that version go back? Was the version like who knows?
This is all
It's all very
alcohol
thin.
sweats.
Everything's very thin.
Well, it
here.
doesn't really matter. I mean, you know, you only have an hour and a half to tell the story, but it just is interesting as to what kind of experience was the Colin from that world, just in a coma for 3 weeks.
The irony is the movie kind of could have ended at this moment, but it keeps going for about another 30 minutes because now that he's back in his original reality, he is determined like a stalker on a Facebook page to find this woman that he fell in love with in the parallel world.
Well,
I think it should have
specifically
ended back there.
No, specifically to save her life because he knows that the girl from this universe would have the same heart condition. And early when he found out about the heart condition, he said, I read something about a surgery that can fix this. And then they don't have it in that world. So that's why he can't save her. But they do in his world. So and the version of her in his world probably doesn't even know she has a heart condition. So he has to try to find her to tell her about her heart condition and then make sure she gets the surgery she needs to survive. So
yes,
it's kind of race against time.
I was going to get to that.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Remember how I said I have trouble letting that differentiating what show I'm on?
It's all good. So basically he nails it down.
Is that Jean Grey?
I don't know. Basically, he goes through a series of name recognition, finding out that her parents died, she was adopted, she's got a different last name. He eventually tracks her down and finds out that she's a flight attendant on Pan Am through the orphanage school that she worked. Like, he went through the nines. Like this is a search effort that probably took him weeks,
including yelling at the old guy that used to work with her when she's a teacher. He's like, "Stop moving, you idiot! And tell me where she is." He just like freaking out of this poor.
It was either his teacher or it was like a Pan Am coworker, like a manager or something.
Well, no, he found out. Oh yeah, no, he found out. Oh, yes, that's true. But when he went to the school she used to teach at, he was talking to the other teacher when he was picking up the kids stuff, and then and he's the one that told him that she went to become a student.
Yeah, she's like, I can't share the records, and he just grabs the records, and she's like, "Sir," and he's like, "Sorry," and just tosses it back.
I'm sure that's highly illegal. She has his name. She could probably report him to the police. He got like
right. So yeah, he chases her down. Basically, finds out that she's on the Pan Am flight, and he's like, shakes this guy down for the information. He toys with her a bit. He finds out that he thinks she's left, and he's trying to find out when she's coming, but she's actually arrived, and she's departing off the plane, and he's running over hell and high water over this airport looking for the most ridiculous, just like running. See, it just goes on forever. It's kind of it gets to the point. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go back to my friend's place and pass out." He misses it, goes back to the manager's office, gets the address from the manager. Like, I don't know how he's not getting stopped by the police at this point. Finds his way all the way to her place. The roommate's like, "She's not here. I'm the person." He almost gets ployed, but he's like, "No, I'm going back in," busts in, finds that she's passed out. They call the hospital, and he's coming in with a bag of roses because he's the hero. Old Colin Trafford saved his love.
Be a pretty awkward. I'd be curious to see how he'd explain how he knew she had a heart condition and all this sort of stuff.
I've been stalking you for months.
I'd assume he'd have to tell her the truth, but why would she buy it? I don't know. But it does seem like it's like a love at first sight kind of thing. Like in the other universe, he fell in love with her immediately, and
now
so
she's
maybe
falling in love with this man that saved her life. How very white knight in shining armor.
Exactly. It's very golden age of oh come on, have a little
well
romance.
Let's ask the question, which performance would you hold up? For me, it's Lawrence Naismith. He was
me too. Actually, he's fantastic.
Honestly,
actually no,
Tom Bell, man.
Yeah, Tom Bell is really good. I actually think his friend is really good. The friend who missed the arm. When he tells him, because he obviously cares about her. I don't know if he romantically cares about her or just is friends with her, but he's quite defensive of the wife of Audley because he's seen her hurt so many times by his friend. And like when he says, "I'll kill you if you break her heart again," and he does a really good job. So just to keep things spicy, we'll all pick someone different. I'll say Tom Lewis, who played Denham. the character
Denham
Denham Elliott played Tom Lewis. So yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I recognize Denham Elliott from other things, but I couldn't put my.
He's in all the Indiana Jones movies. He's yeah. He was in Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Last Crusade.
I think it's something else.
He's like a rival archaeologist that keeps showing up.
I don't know.
The setting aesthetic. For me, it was pretty drab. That one scene stands out as being a little bit prettier, but it was pretty drab, and that didn't help me get into it either.
It reminds me very much.
I was tired, and it made me tired. This movie made me more tired.
There's a movie version of the play I'm directing that happened in the 70s that reminded me very much of this. It's Rod Steiger's in it, and it's I watched it not too long ago, but it was a TV movie made in the 70s, and the color, even the sets. That's in an apartment a lot of the time. It does very much remind me of that. So it is a product of the time and a lower budget for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like, yeah, it is very much a product of the 70s. It feels like it's in the 70s. It feels like it never stepped out. It's never gonna step out of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And BBC television quality film. Like you're not getting much visually out of it.
Yeah.
The sound mixing was a bit weak on some points. The reuse of the song was too much.
Yeah, they use it a lot.
They used it way too much.
Davan, that actor that played Denham Elliott because he was in A Bridge Too Far.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's where I'm recognizing him from because I feel like we watched a movie with him in it recently.
It's fun having people show up on different movies in this podcast.
So yeah, I'd say the setting aesthetic isn't overly exciting. It is lit like a soap opera because it's a TV thing. So
I meant to do it, but I guess I didn't have time and I didn't think about it until right now. But I was like pondering if there's like a 6 degree of separation, if we can make it so every movie is connected or every episode.
You probably could, maybe incidentally, but you probably could somehow.
Something, I think we were going on.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say we can get Kevin Bacon on the show.
Yeah, that would be pretty great.
We get Kevin Bacon on the show, but I mean, he's making bacon, doing other things. So.
It's true.
Making those sweet Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special checks.
That was not sweet.
Oh man, just fuck you. That was a great thing.
Worst.
Oh my God, you have no joy, Davan. You were
joyless.
You can
find I am not joyless. There's things I love, like Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country. That's joyful.
You have a small selection of things you love that you just go back to over and over again. Open up your world.
I did to Dr. Strangelove.
To a movie from the 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, Murphy, I find myself a bit peckish.
Well, you're going to be starved for food because the movie morsels for QuestForLove from 1971 are few and far between.
I got a few I can add if we need to.
You know what? I probably am going to need to pick up a few from André here. So the first one is this was Neil McCallum's final film before his death on April 26, 1976, at the age of 46. Now that I realize that I'm not really sure who Neil McCallum was. I can't remember what character he was. I thought for some reason when I read that I thought it was Tom Bell's character, but
no, Bell famously was on this crime British show with Helen Mirren for many years when he was an older actor. That's kind of what made him. Most people know him from. Can't remember what it's called, but it's if you Google him, it's like the first thing that comes up. He was Prime Suspect. It was a big show in Britain with Helen Mirren.
I remember that.
He was like on the entirety of that show as sort of a foil to her, but I don't think he was a bad guy. He was just like another cop that's a dick or something.
JoanCollins replaced actress Britt Eklund. Not too familiar with her work. And screenwriter Terence Feely used the titles of his own scripts for the names of the parallel universe Colin Trafford novels.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah,
that makes sense. It seems like the case.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
And cinematography by Ernest Stewart, edited by Roy Watts, music by Eric Rogers, release date on 9th of September 1971, with a runtime of 91 minutes. Budget, don't know. Box office, don't know. And,
None.
Two side notes I came across, which are pretty great, is Most people know Joan Collins from Dynasty, which was a big show she was on. But when you ask her, she actually is still alive and still acting. She was on American Horror Story in 2018. But she is she in recent interviews she said that her two favorite things were that she's ever done. Her favorite things were Dynasty, Decadence, and Quest for Love. So she loves this movie and thinks it's some of her best work. The other thing I wanted to mention was
She was good in it.
She was very good, and she's beautiful. She's a good actress. This story was taken from a book, or a story called Random Quest by John Wyndham, who most people know because he wrote Day of the Triffids, which is a very famous sci-fi novel. He also wrote The Midwich Cuckoos, which was made into the Village of the Damned movies. He also did The Chrysalis and a lot of other things that are kind of famous sci-fi novels. So this is based...
They made a movie out of Triffids.
They made several movies out of Triffids, actually.
Yeah.
But he's written quite a few books that, like The Chrysalids and, The Village of the Damned is pretty well known. The Day of the Triffids has like 3 or 4 different adaptations. So very famous science fiction author. So.
Well, what about rewatchability? For me, I don't need to see this one again.
I'm in no rush to rewatch Quest for Love.
I would agree. I'm not in a big rush. I wouldn't particularly suggest this, nor would I pull it out to show somebody because I need to show it to them. One of my favorite things is to show people movies I think they'd like, and I don't think this would ever come up.
Well, that's one of the key components to the rewatchability. It's just like, is this something you want to show somebody? Because that's usually what makes you rewatch a movie.
Often. I mean, there are movies that I deeply love and will rewatch. Oh yeah. One of them is in this episode, but
we'll talk about that movie.
But so no, not really.
Yep, could have watched.
And the big question: does it hold up? I don't think it does. It's too drab. It's boring. It should end sooner. It has a few funny scenes. Like the best scenes in this movie are the science-y scenes. Like we each picked one. Each of our
well, that's because you like science stuff.
No, but like you guys did too. We each picked a science.
Because we all like science stuff.
But like those were the best parts of this movie, and they were few and far between.
I mean, if you like romance stuff, you're gonna like the romance scenes better than the science scenes. If you don't care about science stuff, you're not gonna care about that at all. I mean, obviously we're all nerds here, so we like the science stuff.
Well, we're here to express our opinions. We're not here to say, hey, would somebody like this movie if they like romances? So does it hold up for you? For me, it does not hold up for me.
Yeah, that's fair. How does this go? Do I jump in whenever, or does Murph go first and I go last?
Doesn't matter. We're pretty cash.
No. I mean, honestly, I think it's an okay movie. I think there's some good performances in it. I think it's fine. I'm not in a hurry to rewatch it again, nor would I really think it's something that would be shown as a screener. Like, I would try to approach this question analytically in a way that I'm like, would this something that would play at a theater that a bunch of people go to? Or like if it was in a revival house, would there be a demand for that? No, I don't think so.
Or in like your movie night that you do, is this something?
Yeah, I would not show it at that for sure. So yes, I don't believe it really holds up. Sadly, it is a decent little movie, but there are a lot of things like it. And the idea of a guy who doesn't have a family because he's a workaholic, being shown a world where he does have a family has been done several times. Most famously with The Family Man, starring Nicolas Cage. And that's probably a better.
I'm not sure if that's most famously, but
name a more famous movie than that about that concept.
Like it's like every movie. That's True Lies. That's like
no, because that's not a parallel universe thing. Like this is where you're shown a world where it's like the It's a Wonderful Life. Like you're shown what life would be like if you zigged instead of zagged.
Big.
So, no, it's not a parallel universe.
Life would have made a good alternate reality film.
Big's a great movie.
Kind of. I don't know if it's really. Yeah, but that's more of like a heavenly intervention kind of thing. But yeah, it probably would have worked. I guess wherever the parallel universe comes from, it's up to you to figure out.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So no, I'd say no. Murph, I'm assuming you're saying no.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, this is the last action hero of boredom, in my opinion. This film is probably the worst film that we have watched since Tingler.
Wow. How dare you, sir?
I would
How
put
dare you? Tingler's great.
Above this. And this is the bottom of our barrel. I was very bored.
For me, it's not the bottom.
Do you guys feel like you're like this is up? And this is my question to you guys: do you feel like it needs to have action or something for it to be enjoyable?
I don't. Murphy often does. I find, and I get after him about that.
So he doesn't know what I want. What I want in a
He wants
movie,
good camera work.
Nope. There again, he's wrong there. Well, he's not entirely wrong there.
No, I'm not.
Well, Murph's a camera guy, so I can
No,
see
what
why
I
you appreciate
want
it.
in a good film, and if I can get this out before he interrupts me again, is I want characters I can believe in that just sort of like draw me in with the heart. I want good production in that there isn't anything that's going to rip me out of the experience of the film in and of itself. And I don't want to be like, is this over yet? If I'm thinking, is this movie over yet? I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to be grabbed.
That's an important one for me.
Yeah.
That's why I find film criticism interesting, because I love it. I mean, I like films. I like film criticism. I have a Letterboxd account. Every movie I watch goes on it. These ones all did. But a friend of mine once said, and I think he quoted someone else, that like, what makes a good movie? Because art is subjective. So what makes a good movie? He said, can you see? Is it well lit? Can you hear what they're saying? And I mean, that's about it.
It's
for me.
It's about the magic, all right? It's about the magic.
I agree.
Right? If you can successfully, from beginning to end, pull off the magic act, and there isn't a moment where I'm like, I know how they did this, and there's moments where I'm like, how the fuck did they do this?
Yeah.
That's when I'm like going over the top, and I love a film.
Great.
The moment the seams stand out, and it's like, that's where I start calling it out, and I like to point those out. And we watched previous films like Man on Earth and Primer, and I had very large gripes with those films. Andre, when you get to Primer, set aside an afternoon, because that's basically the last 2 hours of the last episode. Is him going back and forth on that.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Adam was on my side. He was getting after Murphy pretty good too.
It's been on my to watch list for quite a while.
It's my favorite movie. It's a great freaking movie.
That being said, the next film we're about to talk about, Coherence, is an excellent example of the things I kind of wanted out of Man from Earth and Primer.
Good.
Even though
it's a similar
had its
movie.
flaws,
That's why I like it.
Yeah, but most of the flaws are budgetary, I feel. But that's
for me, what makes a good movie, it's like three things. One, it's just another form in which we tell stories. So the storytelling has to be there. If it's just a bunch of scenes thrown together, or I feel like it is, like a lot of our C movies, I felt like were like that. Like that's what Southland Tales was for me. It wasn't a story. It was just someone jamming scenes together they thought were cool.
Murphy, you're going to appreciate this, that often the movies I really want to watch are the ones that Davan passionately hates. They're the ones that usually make me go like, I got to go watch that. Like Southland Tales has moved up on my list of movies to watch.
He also said he agrees with me more than you on this show. You said that.
Yes, but that's like 60-40. It's not like an overwhelming lead.
I'll take a 60-40 split. Like I don't mind being.
I usually appreciate Murph's reasoning better than yours, but to me, I don't believe in waste experiences. I mean, sure, I've been in something for 2 hours where I listen to someone talk that I wish I didn't go to, but every once in a while, I think there's something from it that you can take away or learn something. If a movie makes me feel anything, like anything at all, whether it's like oh, for that character, or I'm scared, or I shed a tear, anything like that, I feel like it's a decent time. This one made me actually feel a few things, but like I said, it's not. I wouldn't say it's terrible. I wouldn't say it's great either. It's middle of the road for a 70s made-for-TV BBC movie.
It's a bit of a number crunch, too. It's just like, how much time do I have to put in to get those few moments of humor or feels or whatever?
Yeah, that's fair. Exactly.
And that's why, like, most of my criticisms on this podcast is that should have been shorter. And QuestForLove should have been shorter. Coherence, fine.
I feel like if this movie
had a movie after that, should have been shorter. But
if this movie had a bigger budget, I disagree with you on that wholeheartedly. But if this movie had a bigger budget, I'm sure they could have put in, all kinds of exciting things where he winds up in another version. Well, he winds up in another version of himself for like 10 minutes, or they probably could have done that more if they had a bigger budget. But from what they had, I think it's
add a little more intrigue and that type of stuff. Him just jumping to one universe and just staying there is just kind of like okay, but like Groundhog Day had more than that going on.
Actually, that could have kind of worked for this too.
Kind of. I'd be more like back in the same universe. Yeah, that's more. Yeah, it could have worked in the time travel one though. I suppose. I guess. I guess. But yeah, all right. Let's move on from
let's
this.
Make Coherence of this.
But no, but the one thing I wanted to say, it's like what Murphy said about one thing he looks for is he doesn't want to say, I want to shut this movie off, or like I don't want to keep watching this movie. I take that idea and sort of take it down to the scene level a little more. If there are a lot of scenes where I'm like, I wish this scene was over, that's kind of cumulative and has the same effect for me. So it's like, and one thing we'll find with the last movie is I think they could have shaved like 20 seconds off like every scene in the movie probably, anyway, we'll talk about that movie when we get there.
4 minutes?
No, like that movie should have been 20 minutes to 30 minutes.
Save
short.
it, Davan. Save it.
Right.
I don't want to hear you speak a blasphemous thing about that last movie until we get to it.
Yeah, I know. Me and Murphy are well aligned.
It's a good movie.
Coherence.
It's a good movie.
Too, shall we? Let's get into the
Theater 2. We have
get all up in this.